$3,299,000. That's the number on the sign. And it's not the number that this house is going to sell for. It could be, but I've got 6 possible outcomes for who actually buys this property. 5 real buyer profiles and 1 wild card. And only one of them is actually going to write the winning offer. Today, you guess which one. You guessed the price, and today I'm going to give away $500, completely free to enter, to whoever gets the closest to both. Here's how this is going to work. Down in the description, there's going to be a link to an entry form. Click it, fill it out, your name, your email, and your YouTube channel name. The channel name matters, so don't skip it. That's how I'm going to match you up and confirm you're a real entry. That's the form. Quick 30 seconds. There are 2 more things that you need to do. First, you need to be following me. If you're not already, make sure to hit that follow button before you scroll past this video. And second, and this is the big one, leave a comment in the video. In that comment, tell me which one of the 6 buyer avatars you think is going to buy this house, and tell me your guess on the final sales price. I'm going to close on this property. I'm going to come back on camera and tell you who bought it and for how much. And whoever called it closest out of everyone who's actually qualified takes home the $500. So who are we even talking about? 5 very different people, 5 very different reasons to want to buy this house, plus 1 more option I'll get to at the very end, because honestly, leaving it off the list would be lying to you. Let's start with the one everybody assumes to win. So here's buyer avatar number 1. We're going to call them the South County Move-Up Trophy Buyer. Picture a couple, late in their 30s, early 50s. Household income, $400,000 to $700,000 a year, sometimes more. They already own a property in Mission Viejo, Lake Forest, Rancho Santa Margarita, a 2,500 to 3,200 square foot home that they bought 10 years ago. They've outgrown it, or honestly, they're just done with it. Dual high earners, business owners, senior people in tech, biotech, medicine. And here's the one thing about this buyer. They earned this house and they know it. They don't want a project. They just want to walk in and feel like they've arrived. Therefore, a model home finished property with a low tax base and 0 Melrose speaks directly to them. They already know about this community. They already know what the math looks like. In fact, this is almost exactly the buyer pool that closed for the properties around the block. But here's the open question. This buyer is price sensitive in a very specific way. They will pay for finishes. They will not pay a premium they can't justify against the comps. So the question becomes, does this property, priced below replacement, below what brand new build would actually cost them, land hard enough to get this buyer to act? Or do they talk themselves out of it over a smaller lot and a few extra stairs? We'll come back to that. Here's buyer avatar number 2. We're going to call this the Coastal Equity Relocator. Now picture somebody completely different, 40 to 58 years old. They're not coming from Lake Forest. They're coming from Irvine, Newport Beach, Newport Coast, Laguna, possibly even further out, the Bay Area, the west side of LA, San Diego, North County. They just sold or they're about to sell a coastal home and they're sitting on maybe $1 million, $2.5 million of equity. Tech executive, finance, remote capable, recent liquidity event. And here's the emotional driver. In their own words, basically, the same money buys a finished view home with a rooftop instead of a dated coastal box. Therefore, $795 a square foot doesn't feel expensive to this particular buyer. It feels like a discount because they're anchored to Newport pricing, to Bay Area pricing, to numbers that make Lake Forest look like a steal. This buyer can move fast, often all cash or close to it. But, and this is for real, they're not actually totally sure about Lake Forest is the right area. They're asking, wait, should I actually be in Irvine instead? There's a hesitation here that the move-up buyer doesn't have. This buyer needs to be sold on an area almost as much as the house. So does the rooftop view and the relocation story close the gap? Keep that question open too. Buyer avatar number 3, the lock and leave luxury buyer. Now this is our 3rd type of buyer. This one's older, 50 to 65, and still working at a high level or already retired with some serious assets. Net worth 3 to 8 million. Sometimes even more. Right now, they're sitting in a bigger, older estate or a newer home buried in Melrose, and they're tired of both. They don't want to downsize. They never use that word, but they do want to simplify. Lower maintenance, lower tax base, a smaller lot that means less yard work, not less prestige. Therefore, this exact thing might scare off buyer avatar number 1, the smaller lot. It's actually a selling point here. It's not a compromise, it's the whole pitch. Established business owner, frequent traveler, people want security in newer systems. Tankless water heater, EV conduit already in, without sacrificing the house feels when guests walk in. But here's the one real piece of friction, 3 levels. Stairs are a genuine objection in this stage of life. Here's the one thing though, this property has a main floor ensuite bedroom. That's not nothing. This might be the single detail that keeps the buyer in the conversation instead of out of it. Cash or low leverage, flexible timeline, opportunistic. They're not in a rush. They're wanting the right house to remove the friction for them. Buyer avatar number 4, the multi-generational buyer. This is our fourth buyer, is solving a completely different problem. This is a household, sometimes literally combined income from 2 generations, needing separate living zones under one roof. A main floor ensuite for one generation, a private third suite with its own kitchenette for another, plus a loft or an office for everybody else. 40 to 60 years old, $400,000 to $800,000 in combined household income, and often pooled together between all of them. Therefore, this is the part that matters. Almost no other home on the market offers this. A third-level suite with its own kitchenette, a powder bathroom, paired with the main floor ensuite. That's not a common floor plan. That's close to a one-of-a-kind at this price range. This might be honestly this property's most defensible scarcity claim in the entire campaign. But coordinating a combined purchase takes time. Multiple decision makers, multiple opinions, sometimes multiple lenders. This buyer doesn't move on emotion in 1 week. They move once everybody agrees, and then they move decisively. The question is whether they find this listing before someone else closes the deal from under them. Buyer avatar number 5, the new construction alternative buyer. 35 to 55 years old, $400,000 to $700,000 household income, design literate, probably has a Pinterest board for this exact thing. Right now, they're walking new construction communities, Sunrise Ridge, Iron Ridge, Rienda, or Encina out in Rancho Mission Viejo, and they're getting frustrated. Melrose taxes stacking on top of the mortgage, 14-month build timelines, base grade finishes that don't look anything like the model home that they fell in love with. This buyer's emotional driver is almost a complaint. I want the model home, not the base model. Therefore, and this is the single most strongest argument in this entire campaign, this property already has roughly $600,000 and $2,500 in upgrades baked in. No Melrose, no waiting 14 months, move in now. When you put the real numbers side by side, base price plus upgrades plus Melrose plus the time cost of waiting over a year, 17 Ponte stops looking like a resale. It starts looking like a smarter version of a new build that they were already going to buy anyway, but they prefer a bigger lot. And there's a small voice in the back of their head asking if resale carries less prestige than a brand new home. So does the math win, or does the feeling of new win? Buyer avatar number 6, the field. Now here's where I need to be honest with you. I just gave you 5 sharp, specific data-backed buyer profiles, but real estate doesn't always follow the profile. So there's a 6th option on this entry form, and it's simply this one, none of the above. Maybe it's an investor who doesn't care about any of this and just sees the numbers working. Maybe it's somebody relocating for a job nobody saw coming. Maybe it's a referral, a friend of a friend, somebody who walks in for a completely different reason than the 5 we just talked about. Therefore, if you genuinely think any of these 5 fit, that's the real entry, not a cop-out. In fact, the field has won plenty of contests just like this one before. But, and this is the trap, picking the field is also the easy way out if you haven't actually thought it through. So don't pick it because you're unsure. Pick it because you looked at all 5 and you genuinely believe the buyer doesn't exist on this list yet. That's the real prediction too. So here's where we land. 5 sharp buyer profiles, 1 wildcard that exists because I'd rather be honest with you than tidy. The move-up buyer who's earned it but won't overpay. The coastal relocator who thinks this is a bargain and isn't about the area. The lock-and-leave buyer who needs that main floor suite to say yes, the multi-generational family who might have found the only floor plan in Orange County built for them, the new construction buyer doing the math that keeps landing on this property instead of the model home down the street, and the buyer none of us have met yet, who might be reading this list right now and laughing because there's nothing like any of it. Every one of them has a real reason to win. Every one of them has a real reason to hesitate. That's not a coincidence. That's what happens when a house is generally rare. So it's your turn now. Link in the description. That's where the form lives. Fill it out with your name, your email, and your YouTube channel. And make sure you're following me and drop a comment in this video with your pick of the 6 outcomes and your guest price. Both right there in the comments. It's free, it's just for fun, no purchase necessary. Closest guess on both buyer and the price, once we actually close on this property, walks away with $500. You've got until closing to get your guess in. 6 possibilities, 1 house. You've got until we close to make your guess, and I'll see you back here with the answer.